before the United States attacked Iran in the first place, the Strait of Hormuz was already open. Oil prices were stable. The region was stable, and the United States and Israel were the aggressors. All of the challenges that we're experiencing right now are self-inflicted wounds based on bad information given to the president of the United States.
Iran is an aggressor, and since day one, since they kicked the Shah out in 78, they've been saying death to America and death to Israel since day one. We're okay with them being a terrorist. We're okay with them creating genocide within their country. We're okay with them suppressing their peoples and enslaving their peoples. That's what we're saying when we say Iran is not the aggressor and America is the aggressor. No, America is the liberator.
Iran as a nation has not inflicted terror on other countries directly. They have not. And so we as a country became the aggressor because the real issue is the oil. It's not them being a terrorist organization. Diplomacy is the best way to go about this, which is the way that Trump decided not to go. You cannot use a show of force to create an existential threat to a country whose religious beliefs is that if I die for my cause, then that's a cause to be, celebrated. The United States since 1945 has been the number one aggressor throughout the world. Now,
how? Tell me how. How are we aggressor? When I look at what Trump is doing right now, it makes sense to me to get America back. And that's why I like it, because his strategy shows me a way, and I see the way that he goes, wait a minute, this is getting America back to as close as we possibly can to pre-World War II. There is more change that has happened and is continuing to happen because of what he has been doing forcibly. Because no administration since Reagan has done for America what his administration is doing, which is forcibly making changes. That's not the way war is today in the world today. War is fought through resource reduction.
If we go in and attack China, they are an existential threat because they have nuclear weaponry, and so does Russia. And that war could be escalated to a worldwide obliteration. And so therefore, Iran's an easier target because they don't have nuclear war. They don't have nuclear weaponry.
Iran violated the nuclear treaty set up by Obama. That's the grounds for us to go in and bomb the shit out of them. No questions asked.
Welcome to the Family Office. Planning for the people who matter most.
Yeah, no, we're good. Look, here's the thing that I find most interesting that's happening right now. And I know we weren't going to talk about this, but it comes out of your state of residence, obviously, is the implosion of Eric Swalwell. And you just got to kind of I'm sorry, we weren't going to talk about it, but Len, this was something that I've been following for a while because, he was accused of honeypot stuff 15 years or 10 years or whatever it was. And now finally and it's salacious. It's pretty bad. I mean, I don't like to talk about people like that, but it's pretty bad. And I think he's dropped out now. He's not running for governor anymore. And you've got a lot of high-end donors that are distancing themselves. So
rightfully so. I mean, when you talk about sexual misconduct, man, that's the easiest way to get placed out, unless, you're the presidential candidate that can grab women by the peas and stuff like that. But it does not excuse him of his behavior because that is salacious.
Yes. Yeah. We won't go into that side jab that you so eloquently threw in there.
You came fighting and you didn't tell me this was one of the topics. So, hey, I'll fight back, man. What's up?
Okay. Well, at any rate, Eric Swalwell doesn't look pretty good for him. It just kind of, to me, adds on to the stink of California. It just, the more.
But I agree that it's not good. It's not a good look. But he doesn't represent the morality of the country, of the state. I mean, come on now. I think.
But
go ahead.
Here's what I can say then, since you had to throw the jab with Trump in there. Trump's just falling right in line with the etiquette and the decorum that was set by the Biden administration, because up until then, I don't think cocaine or drugs had been found in the White House until Biden's administration. So he was just kind of following in his predecessor's footsteps. But enough is enough, okay? The big news, I think, today, to me, that I'm looking at is the Iran ceasefire, the gentle Iran ceasefire The juiciness that I think happened between now and when we talked last was the fact that JD Vance went over there with Kushner and Whitaker and or was it Whitaker? I think all these guys went over there to try to negotiate, and they negotiated for 21 hours. There's still a shaky ceasefire. Nonetheless, there's a ceasefire, which I think threw everybody for a loop. It's shaky. No one really knows what's going on with the strait. Is it open? Isn't it open? It's slow. It's backed up. I think there's a number of reasons why it's that way. I think there's a lot of conflicting information. I think the decentralized leadership is causing a lot of issues. The fact that Trump is negotiating and that things are happening through Pakistan, I think is the right way to do it, just because I think it adds credibility to the words that are the information that might be coming out of Iran. But I think it also helps the administration or Team Trump, because now they don't have to go, well, see, and they are up against, fake news or fake media or propaganda news, but they came back empty-handed. I'm not surprised. I'm really not surprised. I didn't think there was going to be a deal on the first run, but the fact that we're here, I think is a good sign. And I don't think the Iranians knew where they planted all the mines. And that's part of the reason why it's so slow to open the strait, and they don't have the infrastructure or the vessels to do it anymore. But where are you at with this, Len? I don't think anybody saw it happening this fast. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. Is it theater? Is it happening? Where are you at with it? You got to be happy about it. You got to be at least happy.
Okay. So I'm just trying to understand before I respond, to make sure I understand where you're coming from. Are you saying that you believe that right now that's a real ceasefire? I just want to make sure that that's what you're saying.
I think that it is close to a ceasefire as you can get without actually it being a ceasefire. And what I mean by that is we're not bombing them anymore. Yeah, there's probably Cold War activity happening, covert war happening, but yes, it is a ceasefire, and it is recognized as a ceasefire. I mean, what else would you want to frame it as other than, okay, don't call it a ceasefire. No one's fighting right now, and there's peace talks. And here's the thing, there was a U.S. envoy that went there. They should have came to us. We went to them.
Okay, so
that's a good show of good faith, is it not?
Okay, this is my take on it. So the day after, not even 24 hours after that, Israel dropped bombs and just dropped like 100 bombs in Beirut, Lebanon. And so the United States and Israel came and started this war. And so while the United States hasn't dropped any bombs in the last few days, the Iranians made a response based on what Israel did. And so when you have two opposing parties that come to have these talks and these conversations, the only way that any real agreement that's lasting will take place is if both parties come from a genuine perspective. And I don't think either party came from a genuine perspective. And this is what I mean by that. So the United States issued 10 or 15 points, and then the other side issued 10 or 15 points. Don't quote me on if the Iranians had 15 points or 10 versus the US, but they both had their set of demands. And both of those set of demands are non-starters for the opposite party. And so the United States goes into these quote unquote peace talks with no leverage. They have no leverage at all. And the reason why they have no leverage is because Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz. Now, the crazy thing is that there are some pundits out there that are saying that this is a great thing, that we're in a ceasefire and all of this, because we actually got the Iranians to open the Strait of Hormuz. Well, before the United States attacked Iran in the first place, the Strait of Hormuz was already open. Oil prices were stable, the region was stable, and the United States and Israel were the aggressors. So all of the challenges that we're experiencing right now are self-inflicted wounds based on bad information given to the president of the United States. And we made preemptive attacks on a country based on trying to go and negotiate something that was already in our favor before the war happened. Like, I could understand if Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz, then the United States goes and attacks Iran because the Strait of Hormuz is closed. And now we go back to negotiate the opening of it, but it was never closed. And so we're now put in a position to negotiate something that we caused. And so I don't consider that a victory at all. And right now, both sides, the United States and Iran, they're both saying they won, because the United States and JD Vance and his crew came back and said, hey, Iran didn't respond to our whims. And so we're not moving forward, but we are in a ceasefire. So Iran gets to say, hey, we got the United States to stop bombing us. We won. And so both sides are engaged in this propaganda war to tell their constituents in their homelands that they walked away as the victor. So this ceasefire is not going to last. It's not going to last.
Evidently, though, there is a ceasefire, regardless of how you want to frame it.
Okay.
There's a ceasefire.
Okay, you can call it that.
But the point of
because the strait is still closed.
But I didn't say there was a win. I didn't say it was a win. Well, oil prices are under 100, so that's cool. $98 a barrel right now on WTI crude. So we're under 100, so we're under the magic mark right now. So if Iran is trying to fight a war, and the only leverage point they have over the U.S. is economically, right? Whether either it costs America too much to fight the war, or we create this catastrophe in the markets. But number one, what I find surprising, Len, is why most people have the opinion and you have the position where you think that Iran didn't start this. This has been a Cold War since Iran took power in 1978. So why anybody thinks that this is any different? And I understand it, because we want to take the approach that, we'll just wait for the aggressor to do something bad and then we'll react. But the problem with that is that that's like waiting to have cancer before you start an anti-cancer regimen. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's simply unpragmatic. Iran is an aggressor, and since day one, since they kicked the Shah out in 78, they've been saying death to America and death to Israel since day one. And they have been a sponsor of terrorism. They've been a bad actor. They have created issues throughout the world. No one can negate that. They have single-handedly created genocide, ethnic cleansing, terrorized a country, oppressed a country. When a country changes from one way to another like that, when a dictatorship that's unelected gets in, I just don't understand why so many people have sympathy for Iran. For that, and I don't say sympathy for Iran, I say sympathy for a terrorist regime, because that's really what it is. Why does anybody feel like they have to defend defend the failed leadership of Iran? Why does anybody feel the burden to do that?
Okay,
because I just don't understand it. Because we're okay with them being terrorists. We're okay with them creating genocide within their country. We're okay with them suppressing their peoples and enslaving their peoples. That's what we're saying when we say Iran is not the aggressor and America is the aggressor. No, America is the liberator. America is, again, shoveling you-know-what for the rest of the world. And then the rest of the world gets pissed off at the way we shovel their you-know-what. And I think also the second thing that I just don't understand why people miss this is that what's the simplest way to slap China around? Turn off their energy. And what's the simplest way to erase and make our debt a weapon? Because all these countries own our debt. What's a way to make our debt a weapon? We're forcing them to buy our crap. If Iran doesn't want to play ball and keep the strait closed, that's great news for America, by the way. Because guess what? America doesn't need their oil. America's got Venezuela's oil. America's going to shore up Canada, shore up Mexico. Everyone's going to play ball, and then it's going to swing around. And all these people who are going to be at war with each other still, Len, are going to go, we have to buy America's energy. Yes. And here's the thing, Len. I don't know how, and I'll turn it back to you. I just don't know how any American, whether you like Trump or not, or like war or not, doesn't get up in the morning and go, you know what? I like the sound of NATO and all these other countries buying our energy instead of our enemies' energies. Because NATO, who claims to be our ally, they buy their energy from our enemies, who everyone says Russia's the enemy. Like, everybody on the left, like Bernie Sanders and AOC and Elizabeth Warren and, Joe Biden and all the rest of them say that Russia's the enemy, and NATO's not, but yet we allow NATO to buy Russia's energy. And then we allow all these countries that say that they're our enemies to buy our enemies' oil. This unilaterally dismantles the whole system, and everyone's mad about it. But the people that benefit the most from it are Americans. We should be happy right now. Yes, does it cause temporary pain? But eventually the world's going to go like this to us again. Now we need to buy U.S. energy. We are the number 2 crude producer in the world.
Well, your second argument, okay, so your first argument was, why should we allow terrorists or...
Yes, why should we allow that? Okay, because here's my point, Len. Here's my point. Why are we going to wait for them to do something stupid? Because they're going to do something stupid. It's foregone conclusion. They're going to close the Strait of Hormuz because they're going to do something stupid. So why would we allow something stupid to happen when we can take it out right now?
I heard you. And I'm going to... Okay, look, here's the issue, Chris, is that first of all, the idea of the United States doing preemptive strikes is not the way the United States has operated historically.
But it wasn't a preemptive strike.
Yes,
we've been at war, but we've been at war with Iran since 1978. We've been at war with them.
No, we have not. No, we haven't. So here's what I'm saying is that when you look at places like Somalia, Yemen, Afghanistan, when you look at places, all throughout the world, there are many countries, North Korea, that commit atrocities on their own citizens. And so, but we pick and choose who to be up in arms about. And so the reason why we pick and choose who to be up in arms about is your second argument, which is we want to use Iran as a proxy to put a chokehold on China because the Strait of Hormuz primarily impacts Asian countries. And so for the United States to maintain its world dominance and supremacy, Trump is saying we need to make sure that we put China in a chokehold without putting China in a chokehold because they are a nuclear threat. Now, this idea that it's the same argument that Netanyahu used, is that Iran is a threat, and he's been talking about this for the last 30 years. And the reality is that we keep hearing that they're going to strike, they're going to terrorize. Now, has Iran been a pleasant regime since 1979? No. Have they been a terrorist organization? We can make arguments about that because of the Houthis and the other group. The name is escaping me right now. But Hezbollah and the Houthis. Okay. But Iran as a nation has not inflicted terror on other countries directly. They have not. And so we as a country became the aggressor because the real issue is the oil. It's not them being a terrorist organization, because if we were using that as a way to decide who to go and attack, we would attack North Korea, but we're not going to attack North Korea because they have a nuclear bomb. So when Iran, as I mentioned in a previous episode, when they see the playbook, they said, you know what? We need nuclear weapons. And so now again, I will continue to argue that diplomacy is the best way to go about this, which is the way that Trump decided not to go. You cannot use a show of force to create an existential threat to a country whose religious beliefs is that if I die for my cause, then that's a cause to be, celebrated. And so death for them is just a part of what they believe in if the cause is going against their religious virtues. So because of that, the idea of death for them is not a real valid threat like it is for us. That's one. The other thing is that you talked about that, you know, they talked about death to the United States, death to America. Well, I'm sorry, Chris, but just a few days ago, I heard President Trump saying, if you don't stop this, your entire civilization is going to be bombed. And so I don't see any difference between what they said and what he said. So how do you find a reason to downplay what Trump said, but then glom on to what they've been saying all this time? Now, you can make the argument that Trump was using it as a way to negotiate. It's the art of the deal. You can make that, but the president of the United States has words, and the words are powerful. And so it ultimately comes down to this, and I'll turn it back over to you. This is not about terrorism. It's not about giving liberation to the Iranian people. It's not that. Now, I want that for them. That's not what Trump's objective is. His objective is to make sure that the United States remains the number one country. And the way to do that is to put a stranglehold on China. And the way to do that is is to uplift us economically by saying, look, we've got our oil reserves, and now we control Venezuela's oil reserves. And as a result of that, we're open for business, baby. So if the Strait of Hormuz is closed, then that creates an opportunity for the United States. Here's the problem, which is we have a relationship with our NATO allies, and that's causing a real problem for them. So we're going to talk about NATO. But before that, I want you to feel free to respond to what I just said, and specifically about terror, about Trump versus them saying death to America. I want to know how that landed on your ears, because I know I probably hurt your feelings.
You didn't hurt my feelings at all, but I'm glad that you are sympathetic to me. Well, here's the thing. I think the context matters. Trump has not been saying, or Trump does not go around saying death to Iran all day long. Trump said death to Iran because he literally was speaking, and he didn't say it in such a nasty way, the way the Iranian regime says, or death to America. He says it, he said it in, and here's where I have to come at it with Len, because here's the thing. Decorum stops when you're in a conflict or in military war. Hold on. Because Obama didn't start it by bombing the shit out of Syria and everybody else is friends with drones.
He had diplomacy with Iran.
OMG. What, sending $600 billion worth of cash is diplomacy, right? That was your money that went over there.
And we talked about this, Chris. I'm not
okay.
Agreed with this.
So
it's not the same.
So allow me. Okay. I know you're excited about it.
I'll let you.
All right. So here's the thing. Yeah, he said a whole civilization is going to be wiped off the face of the earth. It's sad. I don't look at that as Trump going, "Oh my God, how dare he say that?" I'm like, yeah, thanks for letting us know what our commander in chief is doing militarily. It's military. How can we act? How can we look at this and be sympathetic to the fact that he said that when he's just speaking the reality of what's actually going to happen militarily? To me, it doesn't make sense. Let me when we
real quick. Since World War II, the whole world got together, and that's why they created the international laws and created what constituted war crimes. Because do
you think Putin and Xi Jinping and
not violated that since World War II?
Oh my God, man!
Not, bro. Not in terms of war. You cannot say that. That is factually incorrect, and you know it. And so since World War II, the countries got together and they said, look, these are what constitutes war crimes. And if you go around, so now since then, most war has been around military targets. Now, we're not dumb. Of course, there were millions and millions of people that were killed as collateral damage, so to speak. And we can go and mince words and make arguments for and against if they're disingenuous about that definition. But the universally accepted definition of war is we're going to attack you militarily. We're not going after your like historical buildings, and we're not going directly after your civilians just to get mass casualties, because that's considered genocide. That is a war crime. And so when Trump talks about getting rid of their civilization, especially post World War II, man, that's a no. You can't do that. Sorry, I just had to jump in real quick.
No, I get you. I totally get you. But again, given the context, yeah, we're going to bomb the shit out of you if you don't do what we're trying to tell you we need done. And that's war. That's war. And here's the reality. Again, I'm just a realist with it, Len. The first people that will violate all those rules are the weak men and women, European nations, that made them, because they made those laws to govern their weakness, because they don't have morality. Those rules govern their morality. Americans have morality. We had morality, which is exactly the reason why we got brought into World War II, because we had morality. So I'm okay with us leaving Iran alone and the rest of the world alone, Len, as long as we withdraw from NATO, we withdraw all of our alliances, and we become a populous nation like we were pre-World War II. And we were doing just fine. Now, I understand we're in a global view and all this stuff has changed, but the reality is this: we're taking our stuff back. We're severing all of our bad treaties and alliances because we're getting ready to do that, because the rest of the world is burning to a crisp. And the only one that has a chance of surviving is America, because of geographically, spiritually, systems-wise, capitalism-wise, all of it wise. Everyone else understands and knows the game that's being played here. Putin is not at war with Iran or Ukraine just simply because he wants to annex it. He's at war with Ukraine because he needed to shift the Russian economy so that he could survive, because the rest of the world was creeping Russia out with sanctions. America was leading that charge. We're just doing the rest of the work that we need to do to China and everyone else, so everyone else can get back on board with what's going on here. So I'm okay with it, Len. We could take all that away. But Trump didn't start a war with Iran. This war has been going on since the 80s. And everyone else was too chicken shit or inept or scared or bought and paid for to do anything about it. But we've reached that critical point now where enough is enough. And everyone should be happy. You should be happy then that your commander-in-chief is cutting off the largest state sponsor of IP theft. You should be happy that our president is doing what he needs to do to make sure that the United States doesn't get manipulated out of the market. Because we're okay with China buying oil from Iran, basically getting it for free. That's unfair. Here in America, we can't even burn coal, but China can open coal every day. And then when it comes to war, we have to play by rules too. You think all of our enemies, Len, will play by those silly rules when the boots hit the ground and the missiles start flying and the weapons and the bayonets are clanking? You really, really think that the Iranian National Guard, or whatever the hell they call themselves, and the Chinese military and our NATO allies are going to go, hold on, that's a war crime? Bullshit. They're the first ones to violate it, Len. I'm sorry, but their history shows it. Their history shows it and ours doesn't.
Let me ask you a question. Since 1945, tell me the countries that have created war crimes on when I'm talking about war crimes where they use their military might to impose terror and to kill another country's citizenry in large numbers. Tell me, please. I'm all
China, Iran.
Who? China and who? Who did
China is ongoing killing Muslims in China right now. The Uruguay. What is that?
On another nation.
On another nation. Nation. I don't know what's going on.
Here to govern the world in terms of how people
I don't know.
take care of their own affairs.
Tell me Tell me.
There isn't any example. That's the point, Chris, is that the United States since 1945 has been the number one aggressor throughout the world. Now,
how? Tell me how. How are we aggressor? How?
Okay, so we went into Afghanistan when we know that when our in New York, when the Twin Towers were attacked on September 11th.
What about before? What about the World Trade Center attack that didn't take the towers down? Who caused that?
I'm talking about our response. So when the trade towers were blown down, we know that it was the Saudis that did it, but we didn't do anything to them. And we used Afghanistan and we used Iraq as a scapegoat. And so when we went into Iraq, we used this idea that it was weapons of mass destruction. Turns out that was false. So hundreds of thousands of Iraqis were killed. So now we're talking Afghanistan, we're talking about Iraq, and then we went into Venezuela and we went into so many different places. You can't name another country that has acted aggressively upon another nation like the United States have. You don't have a response to that because there is no response. It's just a fact, Chris.
Are we talking about other countries asking us to come in and police? Are we asking about shit? Or are we just
ask us to come in and police? Did Iraq ask us to come in and police?
Well, here's the reality. You know, we could talk about all those different situations all day long. We could talk about those situations. We could talk about those types of situations all day long. We can. The fact of the matter remains this, okay? The fact of the matter of this remains this. I agree with you. I don't want any wars. I don't even want us to be involved in World War II. None of it. I don't want any of those wars, Len. I agree with you on that. But we are in the situation that we are in right now. And
we created it.
But we can go back and the creation of those events and circumstances, that's so far back, we don't even know where it started because there's been so many presidential administrations that have overseen so many different activities. But what I can tell you is this. When I look at what Trump is doing right now, it makes sense to me to get America back. And that's why I like it, because his strategy shows me a way, and I see the way that he goes, wait a minute, this is getting America back to as close as we possibly can to pre-World War II. That's all I asked for.
Tell me what Trump's strategy is. So enlighten me, because
number one, get us out of NATO. Here's the thing. He said it since day one. Number one, get us out of NATO. Number two, fix our.
How does Iran impact?
Well, hang on. Number one, get us out of NATO.
Okay.
Number two, take care of our trade deficits because we've been getting pillaged for decades. And then number three, get our shit back, which is what he's doing, which is what he did in Venezuela. And he has to do it in Iran because we're allied with Israel and we're allied with NATO.
You said get it back. What are you talking about? Are you talking about oil? Because that's not.
I'm talking about getting ourselves back to recenter to where we were, because we bled out our income and we bled out our assets to the rest of the world for the last 40, 50, 60 years.
That wasn't Iran's doing.
No, it's not Iran's doing, but Iran is an aggressor. Iran is right, but Iran is aggressor, and Iran has to now. Unfortunately, Iran has been saying death to America and death to Israel, and we had the probable cause. Israel had the probable cause. Whoever had the probable cause, he said, "Look, this was going to happen." We went in, we struck it. It happened.
It's the tail wagging the dog, man. Netanyahu's little lap dog.
I don't think so, because here's the thing. I don't understand why everybody puts all the onus on Trump, like everything is his fault. Like, he's only been president twice, and he's been president. He had a term in between that, and you're talking about 50 years of foreign policy, 70 years of foreign policy.
This is what I would say. All of the presidents have been the lapdogs of Israel. That is a fact. What I am saying is that Trump was supposed to come and be the tough guy. He was supposed to be the one to clear the swamp. He was supposed to be the one to change the course of history because he was the tough guy.
But how is he not doing that? But how is he not doing that right now?
He is lockstep with Israel. That is not.
I don't see that. I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it.
$100 million. Those the Israeli. She's connected to Israel, bro. Like it's so obvious, Chris. It's so.
I don't see it. I don't see it that way. I don't. And I think everyone's going to be, Len, I think you're going to be shocked when you see it because what president, look, I don't see it. I don't see it. What I see is someone who has been handed, Trump has been handed. You got to remember, Len, I don't know how people don't see this. Trump is the most modern president we have. Okay, right? He's the current president of the United States, and he was the president of the United States 4 years ago before Biden. Yes, so he's him and Biden have been the only two guys at the job for the last 8 years. Yes. 8 years, 9 years. Okay, cool. And we know Biden, who was an absolute not president. He wasn't the president. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, all those guys were the president. Okay, cool. I don't understand why there's so much heat, Len, on Trump if he's only been there for, and what is this, 50, 60, 70, 8? How many presidents have there been? I don't even know. How many presidents have there been since World War II? Let's see. I got to ask.
Okay.
How many presidents of the United States have there been since World War II?
And while you're getting that answer,
So here there is. You ready?
Go ahead.
There have been 45 individuals who have been served as president of the United States while Donald Trump is the 47th. Okay? Okay.
Technically.
Cleveland, non-consecutive terms, counted 22nd. So first president, this is stupid. Give me the actual answer. So you got to ask the AI mode, right? So you can get the prompt on it. This is why search is dead now. And AI, hopefully it is, right? Okay.
Looking that up. I want to give you a reaction to why people have been so down on Trump as it relates to this whole conflict. Because he came in saying that he was the peace president. And because of that, he said there were no wars and it's America first. So he said that he completely went against that. That's one of the reasons why his own base is saying, let's evoke the 25th Amendment, because he's not fit for office, because he's not a man of his word. And when you run as a president on a certain set of topics to completely, blatantly flip-flop on that, people are going to be very critical of that.
I can't even believe that. I can't even understand, Len.
Oh.
I don't even understand the level of ignorance with that argument.
Dude, okay, Chris.
That is such an ignorant argument. Len, I beseech, please.
Let me ask you this.
How can you even have weight in an argument where you're saying he came in and he said what he didn't say? And furthermore, how is it that there have been 14, this further underscores my point, Len. Why do we hold Trump to such a high standard and such to the coals, yet we have a history in this country of not holding any other president to the coals as we have Trump? There have been 14 presidents since.
Here's the reason, Chris. Here's the reason. I am not here to tell you that. Okay, so you're making a false equivalence, let me explain what I mean.
Help me understand eloquently there. Wait, what did you call that just then? What is it called?
Equivalence. Okay,
a false equivalence.
Yes. Now here's what I mean by that. On the one hand, your argument is that all these other presidents, they said that they were going to do one thing, but yet they did another thing. I'm not here to disagree with that. I'm not here to suggest that other presidents, and he's the first president of the United States that did something contrary to what he said he was going to do. I'm not here to argue that point. So for you to suggest that I am saying that all of these other presidents were good and Trump bad, that's not what I'm saying. This is what Trump ran on, though. He said, because this is how what got him elected. What got him elected is that he spoke to the little guy. He spoke to the person that was.
He still is.
No, he's not. Okay, but wait. Let me finish. Okay. So he got elected because he was speaking to the little guy. Now, the second reason why he got elected is because Everybody knew Trump as he says what he means what he says, and he doesn't pull any punches, he doesn't mince any words. He's going to come in and he's going to be different than everybody else. All these other career politicians, they made their money through being a politician. He made his money through real estate. So he wasn't going to be beholden to all the lobbyists. He wasn't going to be beholden to the donors. And he wasn't just going to flip flop on what he said like everybody else did. But what happens? He comes in, he gets into office. He's pretty tame on his first term. But then in the second term, he's saying what he wants and doing what he wants. And so what happens is he didn't clear the swamp. He didn't drain the swamp. He didn't do unlike everybody else. He's doing exactly what everybody else did. And so that's the reason why people are so upset, because he was supposed to be the one to make a difference, because he was outside of the system. He was supposed to come in and disrupt it. He didn't do anything to change the course of that. So yes, all those people that you talked about in your previous argument, since World War II, they did X, Y, and Z, and then they said X, Y, and Z, and then they did A, B, and C. And so he was supposed to be different. And he's not speaking to the little guy, because the tax cuts that he made did not affect and impact the little guy positively. It affected his friends. And going back to this whole thing with Iran,
I can't even believe I can't.
My last point. And the last thing is the other reason besides oil why he went into Iran is, I believe, because I'm talking about his relationship with Israel, is that he and Jared Kushner have an opportunity to go into Gaza, where thousands upon thousands of people have been slaughtered, move all of the rubble and move nice luxury seaside villas to create another opportunity to have people travel from around the world and claim that this is a peaceful haven, while it was on the blood of little kids that were slaughtered, because Netanyahu did this to Trump that he didn't do to Biden, that he didn't do to Clinton, that he didn't do to Obama, which was to convince them to go in guns a-blazing to Iran, because they were smart enough to realize that that crap wouldn't work. But Trump didn't realize, because he saw dollars and cents, and he allowed Netanyahu to take him off course and to do something, because Trump himself said that Obama was dumb for how he interacted with Iran, because it was going to lead to war. And he said, ultimately, that would lead to World War III, and it would be a disaster. And yet he goes in and does the same thing. So I'm going to stop there, Chris. That's the reason why I am saying what I'm saying about Trump specifically, because he was supposed to be different, because that's what he said he was going to do. He's going to be different, and he's not.
I see the differences, and I don't understand how people don't see the differences when you look at all the past presidencies that we've had. Now, Here's the thing. Again, people criticize Trump way more. Look, I'm very critical of Trump as well. Maybe it doesn't show as much, but there's a lot of stuff I'm like, come on, dude. But the reality is this: there is more change that has happened and is continuing to happen because of what he has been doing forcibly. Because no administration since Reagan has done for America what his administration is doing, which is forcibly making changes and forcing people to actually do things like, I don't know, NATO actually hitting their budgets for the first time in 30 years. No one's been able to make our allies do that. And by the way, I think NATO is horrible, and we should be getting rid of NATO. We should be done with NATO.
Talk about that next. What are some of the things that you would say Trump?
100%. Number one, we're getting people to pay. Number two, he has prevented this country from going off a cliff with the inflation. That's not an easy thing to do fast.
It's higher than it was when Biden was in.
That is not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to do. And then also at the same time, cut expenses, cut the budget, turn a profit on the budget in a short amount of order, increase tariff revenue.
Chris.
And I don't understand, Len, how you can sit there and make the argument of, the tax breaks haven't hit the little guys yet. when you could say it's only for the billionaires and the millionaires, when you understand that the billionaires and the millionaires are the market makers. These are the guys that look, everyone wants to bash Elon Musk, but no one understands how much employment and economic activity Elon Musk creates in the marketplace. Not even directly, indirectly. Just because Tesla is Tesla, there are people that are multimillionaires today just because they sell Tesla accessories. That's a market maker. Mm-hmm. So yes, Elon Musk deserves $1 trillion income or pay package because he's a market maker. He deserves tax breaks because without tax breaks and incentives for the people who are willing to take the risk like them, we don't have a job to employ someone who has a 401k and a salary and an HSA and does their annual HR meeting to get their benefits and play it safe and go out on the weekends with their friends and family and barbecue on the weekends and take all the holidays off and work 40 hours a week and have the 2-car garage or the 3-car garage with the 2 cars in the $500,000 community with them. Because of those people that get those big tax breaks, people have those jobs because not everybody, Len, and you know this, Len, you recruited thousands of people. Not everybody wants to take the risk to create capital and to fail. Not everybody can wake up in the middle of the day and say, I'm going to risk $100,000 and go bust and go do it again. For some people, $100,000 is their life savings. So to say that tax breaks are only for his friends, that is so, I can't even believe you can even use that argument because you know those, hold on, because you know those friends make the jobs for everybody, for the working class. And if those guys can deploy capital and innovate and grow, then the cost goes down and the taxes go down and the paychecks go up. And that's the system. And guess what? President has been unilaterally creating systems and restructuring and cutting the red tape and allowing capital to be redeployed more than any other president since Ronald Reagan. Donald Trump. And what has Trump been saying since the beginning? I'm going to tariff the crap out of everybody. I'm going to get rid of our trade agreements. I'm going to pull us out of NATO. I'm going to make us energy independent. All of the things he said he's doing. Now, here's where I'm going to come in and give you the gray area. Yeah, I'm going to give you the gray area and then you can jump in. Here's where it becomes gray for a lot of people and you got to understand the nuance. Situational awareness. He still is the president of peace. But for you to make the argument to go in and say the only linchpin that anyone has on Trump right now is the frickin', we went to war with Iran. No, we had no choice because, and here's the thing, if you're going through a protocol and you're getting treated for cancer and all of a sudden that protocol stops working and your doctor at the beginning of that protocol, Len, said, no, absolutely no chemotherapy. I'm the anti-chemotherapy doctor. But then all of a sudden we get to certain results in our cancer curing treatment, our protocol to make you remission of cancer. And all of a sudden the doctor goes, guess what, Len? We have to change courses to get 100% remission because it mutated or moved this different way. And now we have no choice. We have to use radiation. Are you going to say no? Or are you going to say, you know what? I thought we said no radiation, but I get you, doc. The rules of engagement changed a little bit. Of course, the rules of engagement changed. The aggressors changed. The chessboard changed. This, Len, right here, the war, I don't agree with the move to go to Iran and go to war and whatever conflict we're doing, but I agree with it in the sense that this is the move you make, the piece you sacrifice to kill the other opponent's queen. That's this move. Going it back to you, Len, because I know, and we're coming close to that time, but next week, I promise we're going to talk about the mental health crisis in America. You're not going to want to miss that because it's huge, but go absolutely right back at you.
All right, brother. Okay, so the tax break thing. Okay, so let me be very, very clear. I agree with you that entrepreneurs and market makers should be incentivized by the tax code. You will never, ever hear me say anything to the contrary of that. But that's not what I was referring to. What I said specifically is that Trump ran on protecting the little guy. He didn't run on saying, hey, I'm going to create tax breaks for the rich market makers so the trickle down ends up impacting the little guy. No. That's not what he ran on. He ran on being able to help the little guy. And so when you look at farmers, I would consider everyday farmers, not Monsantos and stuff like that, as one of the little guys. The trade tariffs really
Great.
wreaked havoc on them.
Okay, hold on. Since you're saying that, okay, great. You're talking about farmers. Awesome. I live in Texas. Do you know how atrocious it is for U.S. domestic beef farmers? Because the Australia and New Zealand has outlawed the import of U.S. beef, but we import their beef and put it at a discount. It's cheap. Len, I do this because I'm frugal, and you know that.
So,
we're both frugal. It's cheaper for me to buy filet mignon. Len, this is tragic. Listen to this, Len. This is tragic. This ought to be a tragedy, but Trump's doing some things about this, but nobody has. It's cheaper, Len, for me to buy 100% grass-fed and grass-finished filet mignons from New Zealand than it is for me to buy it from a local ranch up the street in Texas.
Okay.
That is criminal.
Okay, I agree. I agree with that. But that's a different argument than the fact is that tariffs, like for example, soybeans. Soybean farmers are getting hosed right now because Trump imposed tariffs on soybeans coming from.
You know we shouldn't be eating soy anyways, Len. Soy is very bad for you, and you know that, especially for men. Especially for men.
But look, there is a place for soy, especially for that soy farmer to continue to make a living.
I agree
that oil is bad, and we should only use green energy. So therefore, let's stop all the oil production and coal production. No.
Okay.
You know.
So Len, I am 100% with you on the tariffs. I'm 100% with you on that. Go ahead.
Okay. But here's the other point about that you made with regard to the Iran war. You said that your analogy was that, hey, I'm talking about no surgery, but then I find cancer and then I have to change based on the situation. Okay, but the situation has not changed. So
how do you know that? How do we know that?
The only argument you can make to justify going to the war is that something that they may have done. And
I have it. I have it in black and white for you.
Here's the point. Trump could have gone in and used a body that is close to Iran to go in and do regular searches on all of their nuclear facilities.
They weren't allowing it.
Okay, find a place or an entity that has the teeth and the leverage to be able to hold them accountable. Now, the fact is the reason why this is a hard situation is because other presidents have tried to find diplomatic ways. And so Trump said, okay, since we were able to go in against Venezuela, here's my belief, Chris, and I'll turn it back over to you. This is what I think happened. United States goes in, they get Maduro, quick lickety split, in and out, no problem. So he has a conversation with Bibi Netanyahu, and he's like, Netanyahu's like, hey, you see what happened to Maduro? I know we have intelligence where 40 of their people are going to be there. The Ayatollah is going to be there, and other top-ranking military officials. They're going to be here on this day at this time. So you don't have to worry about it. Once you cut the head off the snake, we have the oil. Now you can have a chokehold on China, and we can have a chokehold on Iran. We're your best allies. Everything's easy peasy, lemon squeezy. We're good. Oh, really? You think it could happen like that? How long do you think this would take? I'm thinking maybe a day to two, maybe 2 weeks max. You really believe that? Yeah. I've been studying Iran for the past 30 years. Nobody has better intelligence on them than we do. And then Trump said, you know what? Let's go for it. And that's where he made his mistake. And that's why I keep telling you that he's Netanyahu's lapdog. I don't even think Netanyahu really understood how powerful of a nation Iran is. And so he made a strategic error. And so when you talk about the fact that there was no choice, yes, there was, Chris. There was a choice for us, but we decided to be greedy, and we believed that we could go in there with no casualties, no boots on the ground. And he vastly underestimated. Now we're in a very, very tight situation because lastly, that strait is not open. And secondly, there are very few ships that are passing through there. And lastly, that the strait didn't need to be closed because had we not made any preemptive strikes, it'd still be open. Gas prices would be down in the 60s like they were before the war started, as opposed to you saying, oh, they're not over $100. Well, thank you, but we didn't need it to be near $95 because it was in the 60s before the war started.
Well, first of all, you're cooked no matter what oil prices are in the Strait because you're in California, so you're cooked no matter what. So you can't even rely on that. Secondly,
I'd rather pay $3 and $6 though, Chris.
Secondly, I think that, you know, when you look at the situation and you make those arguments, what you're saying, you're absolutely right. Every single thing you could have been right. But that's just so obvious. But what I don't think people realize, and what they don't think at, and they look at the other side of it is that this was all planned. This was all planned. And of course the market disruption and all of those things. And you're right. We didn't need to close the Strait. We don't even need to do that. Who cares? And you're absolutely right. We're cutting off our competitors. So, and you know what? I'd rather us be greedy than them be greedy. So what, the rest of the world's not greedy, Len? Like we're the only greedy ones? We're the only greedy ones? China's not greedy. Russia's not greedy. Iran's not greedy. India's not greedy. And North Korea's not greedy. This always boils down.
Why don't we divorce our wives then?
So the thing is they're all greedy, right? So we went in there because we're greedy. We didn't go in there for any other reason other than the fact that we said, look, yes, let's create the issue or create the choke point that we need to make sure that we circumvent our enemies and China from manipulating the market and getting a stronghold over us. No one's not happy about that.
To achieve our objective.
But I think we already are achieving. I think we already are achieving our objective. The objective, I think, is already being met. And that's where I don't think to be done with it and be de-escalated this fast. Like, I don't know. I don't see why we don't see that happen. No, it's not done yet. It's absolutely not done yet.
That's what happens when we talk about this next Monday. There's going to be so much more news that's going to happen between now and the next time we get together. Just watch.
I'm sure there will be. But here's the reality behind it too, though, is that when you all that intelligence, we didn't even. There have been more people murdered in Chicago than there are people killed in the Iran war so far. Isn't that crazy? More people have been murdered. More Americans have murdered more Americans in the streets of Chicago, Illinois, than than casualties created since we've been at war with Iran. That tells you something, right? About the current state of the supremacy of the United States. And furthermore too, if we wanted to turn Iran into a glass parking lot, we would have already done it. We could do it right now. So when Trump comes out there and literally says what he said, which, by the way, I don't think he should have said it, but we're at war. We're at war. The Ayatollah says, but the Ayatollah's been saying death to America and their children. It's the same thing.
When's the last time you heard him say that in a public statement? You haven't.
I don't know. How long has it been at war? Because he said it probably a couple days before he got killed by our military. So I just don't know how we don't look at. Okay, here's the thing. And I know that we can argue this back and forth about it all day long, but if we wanted to end this today, we could. Checkmate, baby. Oh. But we're just being simple. Yep. Yes, we could. If we wanted to end this today, it would be checkmate. It would be checkmate. It would be checkmate so fast that just like it was checkmate for Venezuela.
His best interest. It's in his best interest to end this war, so he doesn't get slaughtered.
No, that's the thing you don't see. That's the thing you don't see, Len. Yeah, see, that's the thing you don't see. You can't even believe. See, that's the thing you don't see is that when everyone understands what's happening right now. Some people don't. Most people don't. The media is confusing the crap out of everybody. And the saddest thing about all of this is that whether we agree with it or not, we should have solidarity as a country right now, and we don't. And that's the biggest thing. I guarantee you right now that if Iran launched a dirty bomb or a missile and it killed half of France or whoever, or it killed the Saudis or it killed whoever in that area, I guarantee you, Len, that the rest of the world would be yelling and screaming and trashing America because we didn't stop it or didn't catch it how did we not know or find out with all of the things that America is? But instead, Trump chose to be, like you said, preemptive. I call it proactive, and decided to throw roach baits in the Middle East before the roaches got too big. And everyone's mad about it. But no one is mad about the atrocities that Xi Jinping commits on a daily basis, or Vladimir Putin, or the Prime Minister of India, or whatever they call him, and all the other countries and leaders.
They're bigger.
What's that?
They're the ones. Why don't we go and attack them then? They're bigger.
That's not the way war is today in the world today. War is fought through resource reduction. So of course we're going to go after the two biggest places that are competitors that are undercutting us and cheating. See, Len, our competitors see things. No, I'm going to give you the answer. The real answer is this. We as Americans are told to abide by all these rules when the rest of the world doesn't have to. So when a guy like Trump, who's a real American, congratulations, everybody, there's an American in the White House. When an American gets in the White House and an American does what Americans do, which is no BS, I'm taking my stuff back, we said, all right, cool. Then we're just going to cut off the two biggest places that you get your resources from. Number one was Venezuela. That's the easy one because it's in our hemisphere. You're not even coming near our hemisphere anymore. Chop, chop, suey. Number two, we have to deal with Iran, which is where you get the rest of your oil. And it's a little bit more delicate of a situation because it's not in our hemisphere. And there's other people there that we kind of like, which is the Middle Eastern countries. And they kind of like us and they really want to make a deal, but they don't know because they're too confused because they don't want to leave the monarchs of the rest of the world, which is NATO. So they get topic this. So the best way for us to do it is Israel comes in, has some intelligence, they're state-sponsored terrorism. Let's just throw a little dust over there and create an issue for the rest of the world. Doesn't create an issue for us. We feel a blip. And furthermore, to close it up, Len, I know you think this is an issue, but the market is the predictor of the future, and the market says that oil is going down because the price of oil is going down. So as of right now, the market is saying that it sees a favorable outcome because as the Strait of Hormuz still remains to be slow, if it was the contrary of where the future was going, it would still be at 105, 110 a barrel, and it's not. So the market says otherwise. But I know we went long on this topic today. It definitely was very fun. But next week, we're going to talk about some pretty cool stuff too. But Len, go ahead. I know you want to come back in on this here.
Oh, okay. So first of all, I asked a very specific question, which was Russia and China, according to your argument, are some of the two worst actors as it relates to terrorist regimes and bad actors amongst the people within their borders. And my question was, why don't we attack them? And you never answered that question because
I did.
No, you did not. Here's the real answer. The real answer is because if we go in and attack China, they are an existential threat because they have nuclear weaponry, and so does Russia. And that war could be escalated to a worldwide obliteration. And so therefore, Iran's an easier target because they don't have nuclear war. They don't have nuclear weaponry. That's the reason why we don't go and attack North Korea for the atrocities they impose and inflict on their people because they have a nuclear weapon. And that's been my point from the very beginning, is that's why if I'm Iran, bro, I'm getting nuclear weaponry as soon as I can because it's in our best interest to make sure that we protect ourselves from the United States and from Israel. So
okay.
I'm not saying, hold on. I'm not saying that from my perspective as an American that I agree with them and that's right. But Chris, you have to at least approach this through a logical lens because everybody, you made this point earlier, we all operate in our own best interest. So if I'm Iran, I'm not stopping at trying to enrich my uranium. And if I'm the United States, I'm not trying to allow Iran to enrich their uranium. So therein lies a rub. And so the United States, if we have the ability to impose our will upon them to stop them from getting a nuclear weapon, then I believe that we're within our rights to go and do that. But this is the problem. The problem is that when you go in without all of the information and you go in under false pretenses, because what Trump said back in June was that their nuclear capability was obliterated, quote unquote. Those are his words. Now, the last point that you brought up was about oil. Now, Chris, you and I, we both know and understand commodities and the rise and fall. And anytime any commodity has volatility, there's opportunity to make money on the way up and there's opportunity to make money on the way down. And so the words that come out of Trump's mouth makes those numbers go up and makes those numbers go down. So if I'm trading futures or if I'm trading derivatives or if I'm trading, shorts, I'm going to make moves accordingly because I can make money on the upsides and the downsides. That's a different game. What we're talking about here on the larger level is oil and the world's reliance on it, because not only do we have oil, we have LNG, so liquid natural gas, and we have fertilizer. So there are people who are going to end up spending exponentially more on their food and on their heating and on their energy costs that was caused and created by a move from the United States. And these are some of the countries that are supposed to be our NATO allies. So when we come back next week, we're going to talk about NATO, man. I really want to do a deep dive on that.
I can't wait to talk about NATO. And here's my last point. Okay, Iran violated the nuclear treaty set up by Obama. That's the grounds for us to go in and bomb the shit out of them. No questions asked. Sorry, you violated your treaty, which was the nuclear treaty. You said you weren't going to do this, and they violated it. And they did not allow the UN inspectors in, Len. So therefore, that's the black and white proof there. What else do you want?
Okay.
Dude. What else do you want?
Okay, first of all,
because I'm sitting here and I'm going, wait a minute, I can't even believe you're gonna pile this on me right now.
Man, he did this to that agreement. He's like, man, that agreement sucks. And so now
it does
as a justification to that they violated the treaty that Trump tore up. So we're going to use that as a justification.
Well, yeah, they violated it and then he tore it up. Hey, you know who also has a history of tearing stuff up in the chamber? Nancy Pelosi. Len, I can't believe you had to dump all that stuff on me at the end there about all of those different things there. But here's what I could say.
Saying, you started it. You started it with the guy in California, man. I didn't know you were going to talk about that. So I just had to stick it to you.
It's all good. It's all good. But yes, we will be talking about NATO next week because that is a very big topic of conversation. And I think that plays in a lot about the long strategies being played here. And I hope that some big developments happen because the fact that there is still a ceasefire, we'll leave it at that, loose, weak ceasefire, somewhat common. But we will go into that and we'll go into a couple of things, which I think also is important, Len, that we didn't get a chance to talk on today that I think I'm passionate about as well is the mental health crisis and the social anxiety crisis today. And did you know that by 2030, 40% of women in their 30s and 40s will be childless? It's the highest it's ever been. So leading into social anxiety, dating rules, things like that. We'll talk about that next. Yeah. If you like this type of content, again, we're not experts. We don't sit here and research. We're not pundits. We don't have gotchas. We just are debating the information as we get it through the resources that are in our lives. And if you like that, come and follow us and journey along with us as we debate here openly and spiritedly. So, Len, outside of that, anything else you have for us today before we depart and we'll get on to the next week?
Yes. So we live right now in a world that's getting increasingly divided. And so what I would really want to impress upon you is the importance of finding somebody that you like and respect, that you disagree with, maybe about religion, maybe about politics, maybe about both, and be willing to sit down and have lengthy conversations that's respectful so we can begin to start to be examples around the world and around the country in particular about having conversations with people in which we disagree. And so within that vein, Chris and I set up this platform so you can see in real time people who vehemently disagree with each other, but we can still be civil about it. We can banter back and forth, but we don't use it as a way to think ill about the other person. Chris has love for me. I have love for Chris. We disagree with things. We can agree to disagree, but we can still have lively discourse. So find some ways to do that with each other. Until next time, we appreciate everything in terms of liking and subscribing, like Chris said. And please feel free to leave some comments and we'll go from there. Take care, Chris. It's always nice talking to you, man.
Peace out, bro.
Conversation has given you clarity on your next steps. Please share this episode with someone who's walking the same path. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss future episodes. And remember, planning ahead isn't just prudent, it's an act of care. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on The Family Office.